Thank you very much, Faye. Where's my clicker? There we go. Hello, I'm Anna. I am going to talk to you about communication, which ties in really nicely to what Joe has just talked about. And I've sneakily changed the title here because I'm not just talking about project communication. I'm hopefully going to give you all at least one takeaway, be it for work, home, relationships, whatever it might be. And the reason for this, I have been working in analytics for 15 plus years. And in that time, done lots of things. It's not recent anymore, but 8 years ago I started my own analytics agency. Around the same time I had a small child. So those challenges combined have taught me a lot of things that I then need to sort of hone on top of the analytics expertise that I had already perfected. So normally you'd find me here talking about something really technical. Luckily we've got some other people doing that this time because for the first time I'm not talking about data layers or debugging or GA4 or dashboarding, any of that stuff. Today, I am talking about communication because I realized sitting at these conferences and listening to my team and my clients and things like that, I realized that actually the subtext of many of these talks are to communicate better. The first talk of the day by Catherine was all about communicating through storytelling. That's communicating your data. The second one, Helene, was all about communicating but via reporting. So it really emphasizes the amazing job and the skills that we have as analysts, developers, whatever we might be doing. Unless we can communicate effectively, people aren't going to get the best of what we can share. So, sitting at these conferences, then one of the other people I know in the industry, so Simo Ahava, if you do Google Tag Manager work and you don't know who Simo Ahava is, please write his name down right now. You need to be following him. He's brilliant. He's taught us so many technical things, but he also, with what's happened in the last few years, went on to talking about those softer skills. But in this case, he was really talking about community, and that really emphasized, again, the need that we are here for each other. We are here to share things to each other, support each other. And this really emphasized the need that, you know, I think we need to be talking about these softer skills a little bit more, which I hate. I used to hate this completely. I'm like, no, give me the hands-on. I want to know exactly what to do and where to click and think. No. So I'm taking a step back. It's a bit different. Something else that really emphasized it for me was not the full English that I had at the last BrightonSEO, but it was the conversation that I had around it. Sitting with 3 other people who I'd only just met, we had a wonderful conversation about AI and whether or not it has a gender bias. And we immediately tested this and quickly confirmed, oh my God, I think it does have a gender bias. It's a really interesting thing as to what goes in comes out. But what we were asking it was, how can I improve my relationship with my wife or then husband? And we got 2 very different responses. Immediately we're thinking, oh my God, this is really important that it has a gender bias. And then we came down to sort of looking at the answers again and thinking, oh wait, is it that it's learnt how to communicate differently depending on who it assumes is asking the question and who it's talking to? So that's when we were like, oh, hold on. So if it thinks a man is asking the question, it's being very direct. If a woman might be asking the question, it's actually being a little bit more soft and diplomatic and things like that and supportive. So that was really weird. And I still haven't proven if it's a gender bias or if it's better at communicating effectively with different types of people than we are. So watch this space on that one. But also keep having weird conversations over breakfast. It always goes down well. So that was a really interesting one. And then there's the whole family thing. Communicating as a family is really important, especially when people repeat the same patterns of behavior that you would like to see changes to, such as where are we going when we're skiing, and some smart ass says downhill. So get rid of the pedantry. Let's deal with that. So family communications, whole other thing to think about, and team communications. We all work remotely now, and this was the first time some of us had even met, and this was doing the Crystal Maze live experience. So suddenly we're going from only ever talking on Zoom to, oh my God, climb through the hole faster. So we had to really mix things up, and that was really interesting to see the communication dynamic changes. And communication isn't always verbal. It isn't always visual. Here, anybody who remembers Pingu, they don't use words unless you live in Wales. interesting topic there. So they communicate via noises, but you can clearly see exactly what they are trying to communicate. You can see the fear, the care, the strength, all of the emotions going on there without actual words. So we're going to look at the types of communication, which Joe has nicely led into with his previous talk. So you've got the verbal, non-verbal, written, visual, and we have all the different ones. So we will have covered loads of these different ones today through the reporting or presenting or storytelling. And what we get is all the different things, and we have to think about how we are using these. So even on Zoom, you have to remember the non-verbal side of things. Even in anything that is written, you have to think a bit about the visual. So talking about today, what makes a good talk? Now, a lot of people will think, oh, it's just the content. The content is the important thing. But actually, a lot of this, it's not always about the content. You might have the best talk ever, but if you give it stood like this, it's not actually going to fill anybody with confidence that you've got the right idea of what you're talking about, so they won't listen to you. So you've got to remember delivery, and you've got to remember the visuals. It all comes as a package. Now, none of us is going to get it absolutely perfect. Well, maybe they will. But, you know, as long as we try our best to remember to bring all of these things into the mix, we can do a good job. And then remember the context. What works for talking at a conference doesn't then work for emails. So don't go thinking my email needs to be beautifully visual. I absolutely loved writing this email, by the way. Go emojis. No, don't write an email like this one. So you've got to think about which skills to use when, especially when we're talking about analytics and data and CRO and all these technical things that we understand, but some people don't. So there's this mental block they have, and you can see sometimes them start crying inside when you start talking about these things. So we need to get over how we communicate to people who may struggle to understand, or they think they will struggle to understand. So we need to understand and break it down. So instead of just going, what? We're going to break it down and make sure we consider the who, what, where, when, how. So who is it you're talking to? What are they to you? What are they to the project? Who exactly are they? Are they senior, junior? Do they relate to you in some way? How do you relate to them? How are they feeling? Are they, you know, a details person, neurotypical person, or not? How do you need to deal with that? So then how are they feeling? Are they having a stressful time? Are they on top of the world? Have they just had a promotion, demotion, summer holidays, whatever they're dealing with? Think about that. Why? Why are you talking to them? Remember that one. What is the purpose? If there's no purpose to what you're trying to communicate, then stop. Don't do it. There's no point. There must be a why, and there must be a what as well. What do I want out of this? What am I aiming to achieve? And then when? When does this need to happen? Is there a timeline to what you're doing? That's for when it goes online. So here's all sorts of people who could be talking to. It could be multiple ones of these. You've got to think. I'm not saying, oh, are they your employee? In order to say, do you need to be superior? No, it doesn't matter who they are. It just matters that you've thought about it and can tailor your content and your delivery effectively. So remember, whoever they are, they're just another person. You don't need to be scared of them, but be respectful, be kind, and remember, all of us are just trying to do our best. And remember, what is their why? How might they take this? And what communication is going to suit them best. So there's all these sorts of things that you can take in mind, that you need to bear in mind. So tone of voice, phrasing, purpose. Ego states is a whole other conversation for another day, but that's something to think about, and trying to maintain the adult-to-adult relationship as opposed to speaking to them like a child or anything like that. All those important things. Then they throw GA4 in the mix. So thanks, Google, for communicating this one so effectively. Thanks for picking a great time when we were just about failing to cope with life during lockdown, and they say we're turning off your favorite analytics platform. Thanks for being so gentle and supportive and providing us with so much. No. So we had to cope, but we had to find a way to make it positive. And we had to really deal with that. And we had to support our clients and change the way that we speak with them and make it way more empathetic and say, look, I'm really sorry Google are doing this. I'm sorry you have to go and find budget you were not expecting to. Let's see how we can help you make this a smoother transition as possible, and then work through that. So after all of this experience and having such a diverse team that we work with, we've come up with some rules. So the rules are reply to clients within X amount of time, manage the expectations. If you don't have an answer to their question, make sure you say, we'll get back to you by blah, blah, blah. Make sure that you plan. When do they need those key communication points? And template your communication to make it easier. So these are many things that we did, especially for GA4, so that you could actually see what was going to happen when and what, or just keep sending the same answer to people because they keep on asking the same question. Write it once. So positivity, really important. How do you communicate with each person? And then something we do to improve communication as a team as well. When we're quite dynamic, we're all quite flexible workers with part-time schedules and things like that. So we have a client name at business name. So client name at polkadotdata.com, email address, so that anybody on the team working on that project will receive an email if the client uses that. If they don't know who to contact, there's a catch-all for communication. Internally, we're clear who owns what. We try and have a backup person or two on each task and keep things communicated. So we make sure everything's updated in the system, on the spreadsheet, in Slack, whatever it might be. Constant sort of leave the communication open and public. Even if you've got questions and you're not sure, should I be putting this to a person directly? No, just put it in the channel so that we know what the concerns are. Think about your stakeholders. Who needs to know what? Who makes the decisions? Who to include in the communications? When you're running a project, make sure you have a kickoff call, key objectives, all of those clear things so that you know what's going to happen. Have clear documentation. So this sort of thing, like not just a 30 to 60 page written document. This happens quite often. We don't do that. Make it really clear and turn your technical information into something readable, which is really important. So what we try and do is have an open stream of communication between taking the objectives from the marketing team, turning it into technical speak, liaising directly with the developers so they know what we're talking about, and then translating. So we are very much translators. And this is what we put in a project plan. I can't go into it in too much detail because 20 minutes is not long enough in any way. But, you know, you could got this data layer and you need to get it implemented. If you send it to a marketer, they'll be like, whoa, what are you talking about? What do we do? So we extract the information, work with the marketer, find what we need, and then make it clear to everybody. When in human language, then when in tech speak something needs to happen in the data layer. Then we take the real life examples and we put it all together so that people actually understand what's going on. So you'll find one of these in most of our project documentations is how you get the best implementation of analytics you possibly can through a beautiful data layer. The marketer doesn't need to understand it, but they need to understand what goes into it so it's correct. So this is what we do to translate those requirements. And then we have to think in advance, are they detail-orientated? Do we need to preempt any specific questions? Or do they not like the technical side? So we'll gloss over some of those bits and say, the developers will handle this, but I need you to know about that. And so we actually sometimes document, this person just likes to talk on Zoom. This person wants a phone call once a week. This person needs emails that are very verbose, or whatever it might be. I used to write emails like this. In fact, sometimes I start my emails like this, and then I add the niceties, because obviously I forget that I have to remember they're a human. And so I've learned these techniques. So if you think, oh God, I'm shit at this, you can learn it. I've proven the communication skills can be learned and improved, and I'm still learning. But yes, so what do you need out? And put all of these things, but I'll always write an email and then go back and say, how are you? Or how was your weekend? And I've always put the nice things in, but really key to make sure that you've got in the information as to what you need to get out of it. And as that sort of progressed, and I realized that the team, we've got 8 different people who grew up in 6 different countries and range from 25 to 65 just in my little company. So I've had to make sure that we all understand how we speak and how we actually communicate effectively. We've got developers who will just be quite matter of fact. We've got other people who might not get to the point. So I've said, right, attention, breakdown, check what's going to be happening, make sure you mention the deliverables, and then you can end. So remember your A, B, C, D, E when you're writing your communication. So that's a lot about the project and the work that we do and that sort of communication as a team. What I now have for you are some top tips that I have learned over the years from many different places. And I'm going to try and get through them as fast as possible so that we don't overrun and miss lunch. So, top tips. We've got think one step ahead, preempt the questions. Address the elephant in the room kindly, compassionately, delicately, diplomatically, however you need to do it. Just don't ignore the elephant in the room at any point. This book, I hate the title, but actually it had some really great content. So one of the key things was don't criticize or correct people. It's not necessary. Remember to listen and take an interest, and people will get along with you better. Make what you say relevant. Again, at this point, you could have another whole talk about just this and how beneficial that is to even just writing an email and increasing the success in that. So that's a huge tip. No. How to say no nicely. We switch it around, and I like to try and change it into a yes, but. So in this instance, toddler screaming at me, give me the damn ice cream. No, no. But reasoning with her, no. You can never reason with anybody in a heightened state of emotion. Don't even bother trying. It's not worth it. So instead we reframe it, and I say, yes, yes, you can have an ice cream tomorrow. And try and then say, like, would you like it at, tomorrow lunchtime or tomorrow afternoon? And try and just turn it into a positive thing. You can have one later, that sort of thing. But you can do this to clients too, or in sales pitches. So my parenting experience can now be translated. I could say, no, we don't do discounts. Or I could turn it around and say, sure, yeah, we can take out part C, and that would actually let the budget suit what you need. That would suit you better. Would that work? So we just reframe the no. Then this one, would it be okay if? By reframing how you're asking somebody to do something, it puts them, these words, just put them in a mood that they're going to do you a favor. And people like to be the nice person. They like to do people favors. So actually, by asking it this way, instead of saying, can I show you my sales deck? Instead of saying, would it be okay if I explain how we work? That will be way more effective. Or would it be okay if I join you for a drink at the bar later? People are way more likely to say yes than if you just ask quite directly. So would it be okay if, some fantastic little words. I'm sorry for being late. Again, we can reframe that. That makes somebody feel like, oh, yeah, it's not on, is it? But if you reframe it and you say, well, thank you for your patience, they're like, yeah, I'm a nice person. And so it kind of reframes it, and you can just get a better rapport with somebody by just putting a positive spin on what you say. Now, this one gets to me, and you'll have seen this elsewhere, especially in the relationship conversations. I'm cold. So what? So, would you like to discuss climate change? Is that why you're saying this to me? Or would you like me to get you a blanket? Now, I don't want to have to ask or guess. So switch it up. You've got to be direct sometimes. And you've got to say why you're saying this. So, I'm cold. Please could you? Do what? Do what? So what? So I use the word so what a lot in my head, and I try and politely put this across to my team when they say something that needs to happen. Now, if anybody's ever seen this in a report, and you just these words, as simple as that. Honestly, my soul leaves my body when there's no context. So this was taken last brightonSEO at the little graveyard of SEO things. And yeah, honestly, it needs context. It needs a so what. You need to know more about this. And this could apply to so many different things. So here you go, give it context, a segment, specific, a date range, a comparison period, and whether or not that's actually good or bad, or whether any action needs to come out of it. Likewise, my developers quite often say, oh, well, this says item category. I'm like, so? Is that wrong? You've said it's wrong. Is that a problem? What's it supposed to do? Oh, can you change it to what it's supposed to say? So that's really important, and you've got to do the so what. Here's a tip from my mum. My husband's always giving directions by saying, no, don't go towards the pier. And my mum's like, don't tell me what I shouldn't be doing, because I'll think about that constantly. I'll just think, oh, something about the pier, something about the pier. No, so you've got to turn it into, the positive version. Make sure you head towards town, away from the pier. So just rephrasing it can make it way, way more successful in helping my mum not to get lost, or other things. So this could apply to other things. In this example, another family experience, but stop jumping on the furniture. You're talking about what is actually happening, whereas actually you could say, keep your feet on the ground. You're saying what needs to happen. You can translate these examples into your work as well. Loads and loads of emails going on at the moment, and with the month that we've had and the chaos of holidays and conferences, things like that, I have very low expectations of being able to keep on top of my email inbox right now. So what I've done is I've just set an out of office. And I've said, look, yeah, I'm sorry that I won't be checking my emails particularly regularly. If it's an emergency, phone me. Or otherwise contact somebody else. So we're just managing expectations and trying to be sensible about what you can achieve. So yeah, I'm very pleased with my out-of-office experiment right now because it's making my inbox way more manageable and people are delegating the tasks to the correct people without me having to go in and delegate them every time. Okay, rewind slightly. I said don't criticize or correct. I should have said ignore the superfluous mistakes. I should have turned it into a positive. So we've got to apply these things. So anyway, one other thing that I really wanted to mention, I was watching Life on Mars this week and one of the comments was somebody said something really rude. So Sam Tyler says, do you remember people? You used to be one. And I think that's really key. We are all people. And what we do, we're all just trying to do our best. So let's just respect each other for what we're doing, do our best, work together, communicate effectively, positively, and clearly about what needs to happen. Do all of these lovely things, and people will suddenly realize that you're an amazing expert, you do a fantastic job for them, and they can see exactly what they need to be able to do to support you in what you do. So thank you very much, and maybe see you later at MeasureFest, or if you need any help with analytics, but enjoy your lunch. Thanks very much, guys.